Welcome back to the Olga S. Pérez show. I'm your host, Olga. How you doing? How's everybody doing? It's freezing where I'm at. I'm in Philadelphia. Yes, sir. Again, how you doing? It's going to be a quick one. I want to talk to you guys about what's happening. Breaking news. The whole Minneapolis ice. My predictions, but I'm going to give you the real, unfiltered, uncensored over on Locals. The link is in the description below. Join me. I'm going to start here and I'm going to end it over there. So become a member over on Locals. You know what I'm saying? Because without you, what are we doing? What are we doing? It's us. It's not me. It's us. So please join me and let me know. Your comments are my fuel. I do read them and I will respond. Make sure to let me know your thoughts. Say hello in the live chat, baby. I am live on X, Rumble, and right here on the Boop Tube. So, I'm going to be reading your comments. So your support is everything. You can buy me a coffee. I need it. Trust me, especially recently. I got a lot going on, which is why you haven't seen me in a hot second. But I do have a lot more things planned. I know I've said a lot of things, but listen, life happens and things have kept me away. But I would say mid-February, I should be back and better than ever. That's the plan. But again, life comes at you, right? So, I'm going to be doing on Locals. I'm going to go into history of the Civil War and how what's happening today is very connected to what's already happened. History does repeat itself. So, without further ado, are you ready before the party gets started? Okay. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. And don't be shy. Make sure to comment. So, where do I start? Okay, who hasn't seen? I'm sure at this point you've seen a lot of footage. And although I can screen share, like this channel here has a lot of give me a second. Something just popped up. Just to bypass the system, private window. What? Just allow. Okay. Okay. Hopefully. Oh, you can see. There you go. So freedomnews.tv always has some interesting videos that they post. And so, this is like the one that I was really
this is the real me.
Caught my attention. Let me mute this for now until I can skip it. Because I ain't paying the. So this live stream is specifically to talk to you guys. So if you don't watch this live, please make sure to comment below the video afterwards so we can continue this conversation. But of course, like I said, the unfiltered, uncensored, and the dive, the deep dive is going to be on Locals right after this stream. I'll take a couple minutes to go take care of some business, and I'll see you on Locals. What's up, baby? And thank you for your love and support. Let's see. Hold on. Wait. You know what? I'm going to see who's already with me while, and your comment should pop up on the screen. Okay. So I was talking to a friend yesterday who happens to be a lawyer, and they have a past where they've had, they were very involved politically, although not so much anymore. But, this friend of mine, we have like over 20-year friendship, and, we've grown, and we've had a lot of discussions. And when I got this call yesterday from the friend, they were like, yo, it's specifically talking about Pretty, who unfortunately is no longer with us. And we're actually, in some things, we're very different politically, this friend of mine. But in others, we're very much on the same page. And on this one, it's like the conversation for the first time, which I never thought this person would say this, literally said, this is domestic terrorism. And again, like I said, I'm going to get into it on locals, how history repeats itself and how the Democrats, specifically at that time in the Civil War, 1860, 1861, and how, everybody was so divided. And but the reasons that, school doesn't really teach you the truth. And don't get me wrong, because even history, I mean, what's the proof, right? Like a lot of stuff was deleted, erased. Google manages all that and controls all that. But if you dig deeper or deep enough, you'll find like newspaper articles, and you'll see like the images that they used to create. So, their version of what we do now is memes, right? So it's very telling, because a lot of people want to believe that the Democrats were not against slavery because they weren't against slavery. So that was a big thing that a lot of people that are so-called Democrat, or they identify with being a Democrat, at the end of the day, in a nutshell, it's just ignorance. Anybody who thinks they're a Democrat, or they've been a Democrat all their life or most of their life or whatever, most of the times from the conversations I have behind the scenes, they're really not paying attention. They're still just stuck with, they believe that being a Democrat is a better person, because the word democracy is like, hey, let's all be equal. Let's care about the people. And they're really just the regular citizens that are just, working and being good abiding citizens. And they're not understanding the threshold and how quick it is, how the fine line between a Democrat, being a Democrat, what does it mean? What is the history? And what they think it means. So meaning they're working, they're doing their life, they're being good citizens, and they're just believing in the title and not really understanding. You know what I mean? Like sometimes people just pick a team, right? Like whether it's a football team, soccer team, whatever sport, sometimes you just pick the team because that's the city you live in or the country you're living in. And so you're just going to support that, even if there's a better team somewhere else. Some people are not. Some people are from different countries and like support soccer teams from opposite countries. I mean, any country that's not their own, because they just literally believe that this team is better, or they just like their style, performance, etc. But when it comes to politics, it's funny how people actually hold on to their beliefs, regardless if they actually have, real knowledge of what it means to take that side. So with that being said, a lot of what we're seeing is people that are literally not aware. They just bought into a title that they think is the best title. Legit. Kind of like a brand. Like, oh, I'm just going to buy, Ralph Lauren stuff because that brand, I associate with that brand, or that I believe it makes me look better to be in that brand. Yes, I am going to take it down to that simple, because it's all about simplifying. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're simplifying. And then you have the other group, and this is on both parties. Then you have the group that are like full tard, like no matter what. And, whether we want to call them MAGA fanatics, or again, you want to call them liberal fanatics, they are mentally not there. So one thing is having lack of knowledge and buying into the thought versus no proof or real deep dives, or you just don't want to change because you've been a certain way for so long, which is very human. It's very natural and normal in society to be that way as humans, right? But Then you couple that with, so lack of knowledge, and then you add mental illness. So imagine what you get when you are mentally not well, and then you also have lack of knowledge, and you're just fighting a cause that, even if it makes no sense, you're thinking, well, this is my team. This is my side. So we were talking about domestic terrorism. I didn't get a chance. I had other phone calls I had to make. So with this friend, I didn't have a chance to go into because we went down and we got, real raw and heavy back in the day of J6 and whether that was an insurrection or not. I beg to differ. My friend was like, it's a total insurrection. I'm like, no. And we're breaking it down. Like, what's the word come from? And again, it's just so many times we make decisions based on emotions that we will defend what our emotions are saying and try to make the words work for our emotions. So I didn't get a chance to go, now compare that, the so-called J6 insurrection, with what we're seeing today. Because it was like, no, it's the MAGA or the Trump or that side, the right. They are violent. They don't accept the vote, who got elected. And if you followed me long enough, then I know, and you should know, that there's no such thing as elections, believe it or not. I know it takes away our sense of that we matter. Now it's selections. It's always been selections. And ever since they made the whole voting digital, please, even when it wasn't digital, easily a lot of fraud. But with digital, that's a whole nother level of fraud, as we're seeing with the Somalis in Minneapolis, which is not just in, Minnesota. It's all over the country. And if you know me long enough and we had enough discussions, I used to, in the 90s when I was in college, I used to always pick these topics when the teacher would give us a subject, whether it was a sociology class or public speaking. I would always pick how the government abuses, how they squander money, how nobody's investigating. And everyone would just look at me almost like I'm a Debbie Downer, because they're like, Jesus, that's some heavy shit. And what are we supposed to do with that? And I get it. But I was always like, let's talk about this. And now with social media and with the internet, now people are finding things easier, talking about it more, sharing it through social media. And I'm just in the background, I've been waiting for decades for this to be a common knowledge in a public conversation. Because back in the day, I had to go to the library and do my research and get answers. I mean, it's no surprise that government wastes money all the time, because it's not their money. They're not making their money. It's not a private business. It's our money, right? And then when you got a printer that prints money, can you imagine? And they're in their little bubble where they're so special. All they have to do is show up and talk on a microphone and tell you what you want to hear. And there you go. And they get their paycheck and they come out richer, a lot richer, right? But it's been happening forever. So they just go, we just know that people aren't going to do anything, right? So when J6 happened, it's like, okay, the people are like, okay, we got to do something. But people went to jail. They lost their lives. People even took their lives because of the harassment, the persecution that they got in J6. We can go on and on. Was it Lara? I think it's Lara Logan. Forgive me if I'm saying her name wrong. Journalist. She did a whole series about a year ago about a lot of the stories that she followed and that she interviewed about J6 and how it affected people and how it was little, political persecution, to say the least. Now, but all of a sudden, we got Minneapolis going on here. And I did a deep dive when the whole good thing happened. Isn't that funny that between Pretty and the good lady, right? Pretty good. You can't make this shit up. Well, at least with her, I found out that she got paid to be there. About $100,000. Let me know in the comments or in the live chat right now. I've been searching to see if Pretty got paid, because he's been in other places. Of course, there's more of that coming out, right? Where I guess a week before this whole thing happened with him, between him and ICE, that, he was in another protest and got a broken rib. And again, we don't know, right? Because we don't really know. We're all taking in whatever we're being told or shown. And a lot of it's, as you know, blocked, doctored, manipulated. And then, of course, now with AI. Now, if you were like me and you were doing your research years ago going, oh my God, we have technology that's not made public, but it's out there if you're just looking and you find it. And so for at least 20 years, I'm like, all this shit is lies. Like, how do you not know this is not? Forget about just editing, right? But now that people have experience with AI and see how real it can look, you should know, the government's had this technology for a long time. It's not like, oh, it's just throughout the years it got better. No, just like with cell phones, they were like, well, we're going to wait to give it to the public. And of course, what do you think their main motivation was? Money. Of course, it's always money. Follow the money. So yeah, in a nutshell, even if the videos being shown right now with what's happening in Minneapolis with ICE, with this individual Pretty, it is domestic terrorism. And it's illegal what they're doing. Not that it was illegal, because he was totally legal, right? He carried and he had a license, right? It was all legal. And there's nothing that says he can't, or he or she or whoever can go to a protest and be armed. Second Amendment. And I'm 100% for that, because I'm all about freedom and I'm all about self-defense, and especially going against a tyrannical government if the moment arises. But everything he did, it's like you go there, you obstruct justice. So what you're doing is illegal. Whether you're carrying legally, it don't matter. I am sorry for the loss of any life. But if we want to get really, here's my real reaction. Why aren't they flipping out about CPS, Child Protective Services? Why aren't they flipping out about child trafficking? Just that. I mean, we got other hundreds of issues, and trafficking, sex trafficking, all kinds. But can we pick the children? The children, not illegal immigrants, that especially if they have a criminal background. Nobody in their right mind doesn't want to defend themselves and wants to protect themselves, their family, their children. So if you're getting out of your way, either A, you're getting paid to obstruct ICE, to obstruct the law, and then you're also feeling pretty bold that nothing will happen to you, that you're protected. Because even if you're making the money, even if somebody pays you to behave a certain way, to, pull forth an act, a behavior, an agenda, that money is no good when you're gone. Again, where are these people defending child trafficking? Happening here. How many thousands of children disappeared with that great migration during the Biden administration? And again, when I say this, it's not politics. Get it out of your head. It's facts. That's it. It happened. I don't care who it happened under. It happened. And it's been happening. Again, they're going to stand in abortion clinics, but you're not going to stand for the children that are already living. And by the way, not all of these children being trafficked and in the sex industry. I know you don't want to hear it. I get it. Because that's the bad news. We don't want to hear the bad news. Because that's really a hard thing to visualize. A protester, an adult, makes a decision. Okay, got paid to do it. Okay. But the children. So I had to get on here today just to freaking say that yes, there is domestic terrorism. Yes. And based on history and where we've gone, have you heard of the book called The Fourth Turning? I suggest you read it. It's quite interesting. But most importantly about that book is how they came up with that discovery. The guys who wrote that book were writing and doing research for something completely different. And then these facts kept coming up and they put two and two together and they connected dots and they were like, okay, so here comes the Fourth Turning book. Look that up. But at the end of the day, it's just natural. A society crumbles. People are dumbed down. Generation after generation, especially in the last 20 years, because that's all it takes. It's about 20 years of demoralization, lying, and also giving the next generation like pretty much no hope for a future as far as like making an income where they can afford a house, any kind of life, right? So everyone's going to rent. So there's a lot of reasons for people to get upset at the current situation, especially in America, and a bleak future, almost hopeless. But like I said, I'm going to get into it, the history that the Democrats had in 1861. The Democrat Party was a dominant national party at the time, but it was deeply split between Democrats and Northern Democrats. Southern Democrats fought to protect and expand slavery into new U.S. territories. Northern Democrats were divided. Some opposed slavery expansion. Others tried to avoid the issue to keep the party together. Democrats pushed laws that protected slavery. Let me say that one more time. Democrats pushed laws that protected slavery, including the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, forced northern states to return escaped slaves. Kansas-Nebraska Act in 1854 allowed new territories to vote on whether to allow slavery, leading to the violent conflict, which they called, and I don't know, maybe some of you did learn it in school, but they called it Bleeding Kansas. And there was, at that time, memes, drawings about the whole thing. So I'm going to get more into it. Look it up. But again, I wouldn't just look it up. I wouldn't just ChatGPT it, because all the information is being controlled. So I had to put my memory cap back on how when I used to go to the bookstore, the library, to find out this information. So I could be wrong with exact date, but like I said, I'm just entering. Okay. But when people today think they're a Democrat, they literally have no idea, because I have so many times I've asked this question to all of my Democrat clients, my friends, family, and they don't have the knowledge. They've just literally locked themselves in with the democracy. It sounds like for our democracy, like democracy is equal to freedom. I was a nerd. I was always a nerd. I looked one way, but I was another. And I was a nerd that I actually read I think I was 15 by the time I read The Republic of Plato. You know how hard that was when you're young and dumb to understand? And then I grew up. And as I was growing, with experience, like real life experience, the Republic of Plato kept making more and more sense. And I kept seeing it and seeing it and seeing it in real time. Meaning, yeah, they figured that shit out 2,000 years ago. And it doesn't matter how much modern technology we have. It's still the same, because we are still human. And the biggest mistake and flaw is to think we're smarter now than ever. That is ignorance to a T. Lack of humility. Because the more you know, the more you don't know. Make sense? You feel me? All right. Hey, Sama, how are you? Evening, Olga and everyone. Thank you for the comment. Great to see you. Hope all is well in your neck of the woods. It's freezing over here in the Northeast Philadelphia. So yeah, I'm going to continue over on locals. I'll see you there in about 5 minutes or so. The link is in the description below. Make sure to comment. Become a member. Trust me, you won't regret it. I'll see you. You can cancel anytime. Join me, sign up, follow me. It's going to get juicy because my gloves are off and there's no censor and unfiltered. But yeah. If you want to know how exactly what's happening in Minneapolis against the ICE agents, like I was sharing a minute ago, right? In this video where it's a long video. I'm not going to play the whole thing. But, especially when they're like at the hotel.
Your health deserves more than guesswork. At Prenuvo, our whole body MRI scans for hundreds of conditions.
Yep. Like, where these ICE agents are trapped in this hotel. And they talk about how we don't want ICE to wear masks, but they're wearing masks. And keep you got to get paid to be acting like this. But let's just say, no. This is really your cause. You're not getting paid for this. You're miserable. Something is wrong mentally. And you're anti-American. And every other country has immigration laws. You can't even go visit. They want some with countries that need a visa, you better be in and out at the dates you said you're going to be. Like everybody else does this. So shut up. It's ridiculous. So the only way you're actually showing up is because you lack identity. It could be mommy, daddy issues. I mean, you could have your issues, your identity issues. You're not for America because I get it. Maybe you wake up. These people, right? Certain people. They wake up and they're like, it's just, there's so much wrong. I'm going to pick one thing. And this is going to be it. Because I'm a knight in shining armor. I'm going to save the illegal immigrants, especially those that are criminals. Do you understand the psychology in this? You're actually a criminal if you're defending other criminals. Just the thought. You don't even have to do anything illegal. You're basically subconsciously, you might not be aware, they might not be aware, but subconsciously, they are literally saying, anarchy? It's me against you because I didn't get my way. I have damage. I'm mentally whatever, overly medicated. I mean, all kinds, right? All your issues. And you pick one and you're like, okay, my one thing I'm going to put all my energy, my focus on is going to be this whole ICE thing. Okay. And no matter what, because I'm brave, I'm strong, I believe in my cause and it's worth dying for. Even if it's illegal what you're doing. Because exactly, you're defending something that you want. Not that you want illegal immigration. You want a defense on a behavior that's unlawful. That's what you're subconsciously showing and saying when you show up. Don't come for me. This is nothing personal. You just got to ask yourself, if you're one of those people, you got to ask yourself, if I wanted to make a difference, wouldn't I do it the right way? Using the law, peacefully protesting, writing to your governors, the senator, congressmen. Come on. This is how a society behaves when they haven't been brought up with a strong foundation, whether it's spiritual or even politically. This is not the behavior of someone who's like, I want to make a difference. This is outright, I'm going to lash out because that fulfills the emotion, the rage I already have. And there you go. And there's not just 1, 2, 5, 10 people like that. There's hundreds. And we're seeing it. Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up here for now. I'll see you on Locals in about 5 minutes. Much love. Make sure to leave a comment. I'll see you over there. Ciao, ciao. Talk to you soon.